Can I just ask you one big favor, please?
Yeah, what's that?
When I turn myself in, I know they're going to kill me in jail. They're going to try to kill me. Can I be in solitary?
Palm Sunday, March 24th, 2024. A small Methodist church in Allegan County, Michigan. Inside the bathroom of the Ganges United Methodist Church, a man who calls himself Brian pulls out his cell phone and dials 911. What happens over the next 16 minutes will be one of the most chilling, most desperate, most revealing confession calls in recent criminal history. Because this man is not calling to report a crime, he is calling to confess to murder. His own murder. A murder he committed just 2 nights ago. But here's where this story takes a turn that nobody could have predicted. He is not just confessing because his conscience is eating him alive, though that may be part of it. He is confessing because he believes, genuinely believes, that if he does not turn himself in right now, this very moment, he will be hunted down and killed. He claims there is a hit out on him. The victim's family wants him dead, and he would rather spend the rest of his life in prison, would rather face whatever horrors await him behind bars, than face what he believes is coming for him on the streets.
Allegan County 911, what's the address of your emergency?
I'm calling because I want to turn myself in for a murder that I committed 2 nights ago.
Those are the first words out of his mouth when the 911 dispatcher answers. No hesitation, no preamble, just a straight confession to one of the most brutal, cold-blooded murders Michigan has seen this year. The dispatcher, trained to handle emergencies but probably never expecting something quite like this, tries to keep him calm, tries to get his location, tries to understand what exactly is happening. And this man, whose real name is Brandon Ortiz Vite, a 25-year-old Mexican national living in the United States, begins to tell his story while simultaneously pleading for his life in a completely different way than you might expect.
But I'm in the bathroom calling because I want to turn myself in.
Okay.
I do have a gun on me, but when you guys come, I will set it on the floor wherever you guys, I'm not gonna use it or nothing. I'm cooperating. But I'm putting the gun right here by the mailbox.
He is standing outside the church now, hands raised in the air. The loaded handgun that he used to kill Ruby Garcia, placed carefully by a mailbox so that when police arrive, they will know he is not a threat. He is surrendering completely, totally without any resistance. But even as he does this, even as he cooperates fully with the dispatcher's instructions, his voice is filled with terror. Not terror of the police, terror of what comes after.
Can I just ask you one big favor, please?
Yeah, what's that?
When I turn myself in, I know they're going to kill me in jail. They're going to try to kill me. Can I be in solitary?
Yeah, we'll let
Is
him
there
know that
protection?
We'll let him know that you're concerned about that. Okay.
This question hangs in the air, heavy and desperate. Brandon Ortiz Vite, confessed murderer, is begging the 911 dispatcher to ensure he will be placed in solitary confinement for his own protection.
Can you please guarantee my safety in there?
Yep, my partner let him know that you want to be put into the solitary cell there so that they can't harm you in the jail, okay?
Please.
Yep, we're telling them, and they're headed that way, okay?
Okay, I'm standing by.
He is not denying what he did. He is not making excuses in this moment. He is simply terrified of the consequences, not from the legal system, but from other inmates.
Okay?
They are going to kill me. That's a fact.
Yeah, but we'll tell them right now, okay?
Please, that's all I ask. That's why I'm turning myself in.
Yep.
I'm not going to go to the scene. I'm going to stay here. I want to face this.
Yeah, I understand that. The couple of officers that are headed that way so you can turn yourself in just wanted me to gather that information, okay?
And then he says something that makes the dispatcher pause. I already got word that there's a hit on me. A hit, as in someone has put out a contract on his life. Someone wants him dead. And according to Brandon, that someone is connected to the victim. The victim's family, all of them want me dead, he tells the dispatcher, his words tumbling out in a rush of fear and confession and desperation. For over 16 minutes, this call continues. Brandon stands outside that church with his hands in the air, waiting for the police to arrive, and he talks. He confesses. He explains. He begs. "I know what I did was wrong, and I'll do the time," he says at one point, acknowledging that he deserves punishment, that he accepts responsibility. But his primary concern, the thing he keeps coming back to again and again throughout this extraordinarily long 911 call, is his safety once he is in custody. He is more afraid of his fellow inmates than he is of spending decades in prison. He is more afraid of jailhouse justice than he is of facing Ruby Garcia's family in court. Around 14 minutes into the call, the sound of police sirens and K9 units barking becomes audible in the background. The police have arrived. Brandon's surrender is about to become official. He has gone from killer on the run to cooperative confessor in the span of 2 days, driven not primarily by remorse, though he will later claim that played a role, but by fear. Fear of retribution, fear of a hit, fear of dying at the hands of inmates who, as he knows, do not look kindly upon men who kill women. But to understand why Brandon Ortiz Vite was so terrified, why he believed there was a hit on him, why he chose to turn himself in from a church bathroom on Palm Sunday, we need to go back 2 days. Back to March 22nd, 2024. Back to a red Mazda CX-3 driving southbound on US 131 in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Back to the moment when an argument between boyfriend and girlfriend escalated into one of the most brutal murders the area had seen in years. Brandon Ortiz Vite and Ruby Garcia had been dating for approximately 1 year. She was 25 years old, the same age as Brandon. They were in her car that night, her 2023 red Mazda, and they were having a conversation that relationships sometimes have. Ruby wanted to end things. She wanted to break up. And Brandon, who by his own later admission had been drinking alcohol and using cocaine that day, did not take the news well. According to Brandon's detailed confession to Michigan State Police after his arrest, Ruby pulled the car over near Leonard Street. She demanded that he get out of the vehicle. Right there, right then. The relationship was over, and she wanted him gone. But Brandon did not want to leave. An argument ensued, voices raised, emotions running high. And then it turned physical. Both of them struck each other. A brief altercation inside and possibly outside the car. But what happened next was not mutual combat. What happened next was not self-defense. What happened next was cold-blooded murder. Brandon Ortiz Vite was carrying a handgun illegally. He retrieved it. And while Ruby Garcia sat in the driver's seat of her own car, he shot her. Not once, not twice, 5 times total. He shot her twice in the head. He shot her once in the left hand, a defensive wound that tells us Ruby tried to protect herself, tried to shield herself from the bullets. He shot her once in the upper left arm. 4 shots while she was still in the vehicle, slumping over as the life drained out of her. And then in a moment that reveals the true cold-bloodedness of this crime, Brandon unbuckled Ruby's seatbelt. He pushed her body out of the car and onto the shoulder of the highway. And as she lay there on the ground, he saw her move slightly. Maybe a twitch, maybe a gasp for breath, maybe the final involuntary movements of a dying woman. And Brandon Ortiz Vite, standing over the woman he had dated for a year, the woman who just wanted to end their relationship, fired one final shot to make sure she was dead. Then he got into her car and drove away, leaving Ruby Garcia's body on the side of US 131 like discarded trash. He abandoned the red Mazda north of South Haven, the interior covered in blood, bullet holes visible in the upholstery. The vehicle was later recovered by police, physical evidence of the horror that had taken place inside. Ruby's body was discovered around 11:35 p.m. by motorists who were simply driving by and saw something terrible on the shoulder. Her cell phone was found nearby, still containing text messages that showed she and Brandon had planned to meet shortly before the incident. Plans for what she thought would be a conversation about ending their relationship. Plans that turned into her murder. Brandon Ortiz Vite later told detectives that he did not premeditate the killing. He claimed it was impulsive, something that happened in the heat of the moment, fueled by alcohol, cocaine, and the rage of being dumped. But the autopsy results, the forensic evidence, the fact that he shot her 5 times, including that final execution-style shot on the ground, all of it painted a picture of something far more deliberate. This was not a momentary loss of control. This was a man who made the conscious decision to end Ruby Garcia's life, and then made another conscious decision to make absolutely sure she was dead before fleeing. After his surrender at the church, after that 16-minute 911 call where he begged for solitary confinement and protection from the supposed hit on his life, Brandon Ortiz Vite was taken into custody. He was interviewed extensively by Michigan State Police detectives, and in those interviews, he confessed to everything. He described the argument, the pulling over of the car, the physical altercation, the retrieval of the gun, the shooting, the pushing of Ruby's body onto the highway, that final shot, the theft of her car. He held nothing back. He acknowledged the severity of what he had done, even as he maintained that he had not planned it in advance. Brandon was initially charged with open murder, felony murder, carjacking, carrying a concealed weapon, and felony firearm. These were serious charges that could have resulted in life in prison without parole if prosecutors had pursued the highest counts. But in September 2024, 6 months after Ruby's death, Brandon accepted a plea deal. He pleaded guilty to second-degree murder, carjacking, carrying a concealed weapon, and felony firearm. The higher charges were dropped in exchange for his guilty plea and cooperation. On November 7, 2024, Brandon Ortiz Vite, now 26 years old, stood before Judge Mark Trusock in Kent County Circuit Court for sentencing. Ruby Garcia's family attended the hearing, wearing memorial shirts with her picture and name, a visible reminder of the life that had been stolen. They submitted written victim impact letters, but chose not to deliver oral statements in court. Perhaps the pain was too great. Perhaps they did not want to give Brandon the satisfaction of seeing their tears. Perhaps they simply wanted the legal process to run its course without having to face him directly. Brandon had prepared a statement. Through tears, he read an apology that attempted to address not just Ruby's family, but entire communities.
I want to apologize to my community, my Latino, Hispanic, Mexican community. I am a proud Mexican national whose actions have brought great shame and dishonor to our people who come to the United States in search for a better living, a dream that I have taken for granted, which has filled my heart with.
He apologized to immigrants from all walks of life.
The actions I took on the night of March 22nd do not define who my people are. I apologize with the utmost respect to all immigrants from all walks of life.
As if his crime had somehow reflected on all immigrants, rather than just on himself as an individual who made a terrible choice. He expressed deep remorse, stating that his actions were out of character and that he had confessed out of love and guilt toward Ruby. But Judge Trusock was not moved by the tears or the apologies or the claims of being out of character. Judge Trusock had seen the evidence. He had read the autopsy reports. He knew exactly what Brandon Ortiz Vite had done to Ruby Garcia on that highway.
There is just no reason for this, no justification, no excuse whatsoever. You, sir, are a cold-blooded murderer. This is an intentional crime, and you are a danger to society. You are a very violent individual, and you need to be removed from society.
He described the killing as intentional and execution style, rejecting any notion that this was somehow an impulsive act of passion. The judge saw it for what it was: brutal, calculated violence against a woman who simply wanted to end a relationship. The sentence came down hard and final. For second-degree murder, Brandon received 37 to 100 years. For felony firearm, a mandatory consecutive sentence of 2 years. For carjacking, 20 to 80 years to run concurrent with the murder sentence. For carrying a concealed weapon, 3 to 5 years concurrent. The effective minimum sentence before Brandon Ortiz Vite can even be considered for parole is 39 years. He is currently 26 years old. That means he will be at least 65 before he has any chance of freedom. The maximum possible sentence extends beyond 100 years, meaning he could very well die in prison. And if by some chance he does survive to parole eligibility and is released, deportation proceedings await him as a foreign national convicted of a violent felony. Brandon Ortiz Vite will likely never be a free man in the United States again. Ruby Garcia's family has justice in the legal sense. The man who killed their daughter, their sister, their loved one, will spend decades behind bars. But no sentence brings Ruby back. No apology, no matter how tearful, restores the life that was taken on US 131 that March night. Ruby Garcia was 25 years old. She had her whole life ahead of her. and it was stolen by a man who could not accept that she wanted to move on. As for Brandon's fear of a hit, of being killed in jail by inmates or by people connected to Ruby's family, that terror that drove him to confess from a church bathroom, there is no public record of any actual contract on his life. It may have been real. It may have been paranoia fueled by guilt and fear. But either way, Brandon Ortiz Veit is now in the custody of the Michigan Department of Corrections, where he will remain for the rest of his natural life or close to it. Whether he is in solitary confinement for his protection or in general population facing the judgment of his fellow inmates, only the prison system knows. But one thing is certain, Ruby Garcia's family got their justice, and Brandon Ortiz Veit got exactly what Judge Trusock said he deserved: removal from society for the cold-blooded murder of a woman whose only crime was wanting to end a relationship.
Didn't testify.